Hi, this is Linda Welsh from Linda Welsh Realty Group. Thanks for joining me today. I wanted to talk to you buyers a little bit about what the hidden costs of are buying a home in 2025. Not that things have changed a whole lot from 2024, but if you're all of a sudden thinking about buying or you haven't purchased a home in a while, let's review what some of those costs are. Number one are closing costs. So closing costs can run you anywhere from 2 to 5% of the all-in costs of purchasing a home. So some of those things may be for mortgage origination, if you're getting a mortgage. It could be for other items like number two, prepaids and escrow fees. Prepaids would be things like paying for 1 year binder on your insurance on your home upfront. Escrow fees might be some of the closing costs that you have with a title company here in Texas. If you live in another part of the country, you may use an attorney's office to close, but here in Texas, we use title companies. And although the seller usually, almost always, pays for title insurance, you will be expected to pay some of those costs. They're not a lot of money, but you're probably paying for the escrow officer, for the title company to have their attorneys reviewing your file, reviewing the history on your deed, on your property, and some of the filing fees. There's going to be filing fees that happen. You also might decide to pay for a residential service contract, although many times we can negotiate and get the seller to pay that for you. Residential service contract is very often called a home warranty, but it's a great thing to have when you're purchasing a home, and most of the time you can't buy them at any other time to start, except when you're buying a home. So that will ensure that if you have a problem with your HVAC, with your appliances, something of that sort, your water heater, that the residential service contract company or home warranty company will come out and repair it. And if they can't repair it, they usually replace it. So it's a great thing to have. Number three are inspections and moving costs. So inspections, we've seen them as high as $1,200, probably starting more at around $600. Inspections usually take anywhere from 3 to 4 hours on average for them to come in and go through all the systems in your home. They will also look at evidence of any movement in the foundation. They will look at your roof to see if there's any cracks in the tile, if there's any systems that are not working as they should. For instance, if your oven is not heating to the temperature it should, if your water pressure is okay. There's so many systems that they look at. And we also have a list of inspectors. Sometimes it's a great idea if you're ever selling to get a home pre-inspected, but you're going to have a period of time in order to do that. Typically 5 to 7 days is the option period or your inspection period in Texas. I'm happy to review how that timing works. And then the last thing is HOA fees and transfer charges. So transfer fees. HOA fees have a lot to do with where you're going to purchase. There are areas that you can purchase that don't have HOA fees because they don't have a mandatory HOA. HOA stands for Homeowners Association, or POA for Property Owners Association. They're basically the same thing. So a homeowners association is good in the fact that it will limit what people can do with their house, which some people don't really like. I happen to like it a lot because it tells you that the neighbor can't paint their house purple, they can't have trucks up on blocks, they can't have their RV parked in the driveway, things that might detract from how your neighborhood appears overall. At the same time, for instance, we just went through a lot of work on our house, and we had to submit the color changes for the exterior of our house into our master association for our HOA to get approval. So, but that's a good thing. It's a little bit of a hassle, but it's a really good thing because, again, you want the neighborhood to look as great as it can, and that will protect your value. As far as transfer fees, in some places in the country, we do see transfer fees at a state level. In the case of Texas, we usually see transfer fees in the case of an HOA charging a dollar amount to transfer from one owner to another. We've seen as small as $150 up to sometimes $2,000 or more. This is usually negotiated in the contract on who's going to pay for what. Other things that are negotiated is how much the buyer's willing to take on in some of those different areas, whether or not the buyer wants to pay for boundary coverage, for instance. The seller usually pays for the title policy or the title insurance policy, which is regulated by the state. So generally it's going to be the same across the board, regardless of who you use as a title company. But the buyer usually pays for boundary coverage. What this means is if there's ever a dispute about the boundary lines, or whether or not the fence is on the boundary, if somebody who did the survey made a mistake, there's a problem with it, boundary coverage will protect you. And it's only 5% of the total amount of the general title insurance policy. So in most cases, it's a really good thing to add on. If you have any questions about purchasing our home, what it might cost, or even want to see a buyer net sheet on a property when you're ready to buy, just let us know. We'd be glad to help you with that, walk you through the contracts, walk you through the timeline, even put you in touch with great inspectors and great lenders to get you the best deal possible. So again, it's Linda Welsh from Linda Welsh Realty Group. Happy to help you with your purchase. Have a great day.